Hello, it's compliments of the season from Nigeria's capital city. Welcome to the news on NT International. I am Musbad and Wahab. The headlines. Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 places travel restrictions on travelers for refusing to show up at the testing centers. Chief of Naval Staff tasked personnel to return Baga General Area to its pristine status for restoration of socio-economic activities. Correspondent takes a look at how the agricultural sector fared in 2020. Thanks a lot for staying tuned in to the news. The Presidential Task Force has placed travel restrictions on inbound travelers for refusing to show up at the testing centers and getting their COVID-19 status confirmed. The task force said it had placed travel restrictions on the affected passengers for failing to comply with COVID-19 travel guidelines, which mandate travelers to run the test 7 days after their arrival into the country. National Coordinator of the Presidential Task Force, Sani Aliyu, had earlier declared that the affected passport holders will be suspended from traveling for a minimum of 6 months. He also affirmed that visas of foreigners who evade mandatory tests would also be revoked. Sani Aliyu further disclosed that the 100 affected persons have been contacted and confirmed to have failed to undergo the post-arrival safety protocol. Meanwhile, the Lagos State government is also exploring stiffer measures to contain the spread of the virus. The state government has threatened to deactivate the passports of travelers refusing to comply with COVID-19 testing protocols. The Lagos State Commissioner for Health, Akin Abayomi, reportedly insists that this measure has become necessary given the severity of a second wave of COVID-19. The Commissioner says the spike may not be unconnected with positive cases of inbound travelers as Nigerians in diaspora return to spend Christmas in Lagos. He said many travelers paid for COVID-19 tests but refused to show up at the testing centers. On the global stage, U.S. Vice President Mike Pence accepts Senators' bid to delay Biden's presidential election win, just as Egypt approves use of Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccine. For more on this, let's join Uche Ugochukwu.
U.S. Vice President Mike Pence has welcomed an effort by a group of senators to refuse to certify Joe Biden's presidential election win. The 11 Republican senators and senators-elect, led by Ted Cruz, want a 10-day delay to audit unsubstantiated allegations of election fraud. The move is certain to fail, as most senators are expected to endorse Mr. Biden in the 6th January vote. On a sad note, Norwegian police said 5 bodies have now been found in the search for the missing following a massive landslide that destroyed homes in the country. 5 people remain missing as rescuers continue search for survivors. The death toll in an attack on villages in Niger's restive border regions has risen to more than 70. The country's interior minister said the attack took place in 2 villages near the border with Mali. At least 20 people were also wounded. Turning attention to the coronavirus pandemic, the positive infections have crossed 85 million, with death toll surpassing 1.8 million, as collated by the Coronavirus Resource Center at Johns Hopkins University at 6 p.m. Nigerian time. Nigeria now accounts for 89,163 confirmed cases, having recorded 576 new cases Saturday. Egypt, however, has granted regulatory approval for the use of a COVID-19 vaccine developed by Chinese Sinopharm, with the inoculation campaign expected to begin this January. Similarly, India has formally approved the emergency use of 2 coronavirus vaccines as it prepares for one of the world's biggest vaccination drives. The Drugs Regulatory Authority gave the green light to the jabs developed by AstraZeneca and Oxford University, and that by a local firm, Bharat Biotech. Prime Minister Narendra Modi called it a decisive turning point. Meanwhile, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has warned that regional restrictions in England are probably about to get tougher to curb rising COVID infections. He said stronger measures like keeping schools closed may be required in parts of the country in the coming weeks, and that ministers had to be realistic about the spread of the new variant of the virus. That's it from here. I am Uche Ugochukwu. Compliments of the season.
Thanks a lot, Uche. With us now in the studio to shed more light on the second wave of the pandemic is the Commissioner of Health in Cross River State, Betta Edu. Thanks a lot for joining us, Madam.
Thank you for having me.
Right, it's good to have you too. Now, just about the time Nigerians were almost going to the party to celebrate, now we have the second wave of COVID-19 appears to be more severe in Nigeria than the first one. What do you think is responsible for this?
Well, really a lot could be responsible for the second wave of COVID-19 we are experiencing in Nigeria. First of all is the fact that we have a COVID fatigue all across the country, and very few people were beginning to adhere to the COVID-19 protocols and guidelines. So you could see people go to have parties, moving from one state to the other, people moving around without even wearing their face masks, using their hand sanitizer, washing their hands as often. Of course, people were beginning to gather in their numbers. We had a couple of elections happen during this period, and of course the festive period came on us, and we had a lot of people coming in from outside the country back to Nigeria to see their loved ones, and those who were in different states, especially states that have been known to be epic centers, had to move back home to see their loved ones. So all of this movement and the COVID fatigue is actually responsible for the second wave which we're experiencing in the country. But really, the big picture should be up in about, let's say, 2 weeks from now, when we will be seeing the aftermath of the festive period and the movements that occurred.
All right, thank you very much. We hope it won't be another worse wave. And now, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has continuously called on state government, as you may be aware, to step up campaigns on the pandemic testing and other containment measures. What is your state's Cross River doing as regards this?
Okay, so basically for a response, a public health response to a pandemic of this nature, a couple of things have to be looked into and in fact treated as an emergency. Presently, Cross River State was affected by the NSAS protest, which was hijacked by hoodlums. Our 100-bed isolation center was destroyed. Of course, the reference laboratory where testing for COVID-19, TB, HIV, and several other diseases was taking place was also vandalized and looted, and of course the PTF is aware of this, and even the NCDC, they are aware of this. These are things that are emergencies and should be treated as such. Beyond Cross River State, there are several other states in Nigeria that do not have a molecular lab. For us to respond appropriately to a pandemic and even prepare for any other disease that might be coming, another pandemic, epidemic, or whatsoever, it's compulsory for every state in Nigeria at this point to have state-owned or public molecular labs where people can get tested, and they should also have an isolation center so that when you have your surveillance, contact tracing, community sampling, and all of those activities that should be going on as part of your response, you would have somewhere to take 1,000 samples, 500 samples to. So really, it's a call for the PTF and indeed the Nigerian federal government to see how they can support states even more to get molecular labs and get people tested in the numbers.
Dr. Dr. Edu, now, in some countries we already have people being vaccinated, and starting with the aged and then the medical health workers. Now, do you see that, I'm going to give you a two-legged question. Do you see that possible in Nigeria, considering the amount of money needed for the importation of these vaccines, and then how reliable is this?
Okay, thank you very much. I really believe that we should have the COVID vaccines in as soon as possible to, of course, protect health workers, frontline health workers, and indeed members of the population that would require the vaccine. However, I think we as a country should invest half of the money which has been proposed for the vaccine on building the health system. This is a huge window of opportunity to fix the system, the private system, make it more resilient, work on the family health centers, the general hospitals, the teaching hospitals, and probably specialist hospitals across board, build molecular labs for every state and a permanent isolation center for every state. Most importantly, before we get these vaccines in, we need to work on the cold chain system in Nigeria. Remember, for instance, the Pfizer BioNTech, which has been approved by WHO, requires minus 80 degrees centigrade to minus 60 degrees centigrade. We do not have those cold chain equipment and system that would be able to carry this comfortably from the point where it gets into the country up to the point where it gets to the end user in my village or in your village or somewhere else in Nigeria. So we really need to look into all of these issues just before we bring the vaccines into the country. That way they stay potent from the point of entry to the point where they are delivered to the end user. So really, this is a huge opportunity, and I hope Nigeria catches in on it to fix the health system. Remember, COVID has restricted everyone, and so if anyone is in crisis, we have to rely on this fragile health system. So it's time to do something more to fix it.
All right, thanks a lot. Now, quickly, before I let you go, some states have embarked on aggressive enforcement or on the use of personal protective equipment at social gatherings. Do you see these as a way of drumming the message into the ears of people?
Yes, indeed. Every state is supposed to, within its context, look for the best of means to ensure that its citizens protect themselves and they can reduce the spread of the virus within their own borders. It's very, very important. So for Cross River State, the governor of Cross River State, of course, you know, has been leading the prevention for COVID-19 in Nigeria. He started the No Mask, No Movement in Nigeria, even ahead of the PTF. And of course, the governor produced over 1.5 million face masks and distributed free of charge to people in public, and we're continuing to do this. The task force is on the street trying to ensure and enforce that people use their face masks. We're working with the Christian Association of Nigeria, the Islamic Association of Nigeria, as well as other commercial public partners to see that people adhered to this regulation. It's important. The vaccine is not in yet. Even though we have low fatality rate, you don't want to be caught in between, or you don't want to be lost through the cracks. So please, and please again, everyone in Nigeria needs to wear the face mask as they move around. Wash your hands often, use the hand sanitizer, and as much as possible, avoid public gathering. Let the decision to go for one event or meet someone be a decision of life and death for you, because just you never can tell.
Indeed, you never can tell. Dr. Betta Edo, thanks a lot for your time and stopping by.
You're welcome.
All right, Betta Edo is the Commissioner for Health, Cross River State. Moving on, the Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Talin, has enjoined women and Nigerians to beware of COVID-19 and ensure they make efforts to flatten the curve by observing all the laid down protocols to stay safe. And a message thanking women and all Nigerians for their love and prayers for all who have tested positive to COVID-19, including herself. Pauline Talin restated a commitment to uphold the mission of the ministry to serve as a national vehicle for the speedy and steady development of Nigerian women health-wise and in the mainstream national development while promoting the rights of vulnerable persons in the country. Now away from COVID-19, the African Union Chairperson Cyril Ramaphosa and Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed have congratulated Africans for commencing trade under the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreements. The continental trading under the agreement started on January 1st, 2021. South African President Ramaphosa described the takeoff of the Continental Project as a fulfillment of a vision of founding fathers of the OAU, but is today known as AU.
African trade, it will promote industrialization and competitiveness and contribute to job creation, and it will unleash regional value chains that will facilitate Africa's meaningful integration into the global economy. The treaty will also improve the prospects of Africa as an attractive investment destination. This, our treaty, presents immense opportunities for the private sector in Africa and will be a catalyst for the development and expansion of private enterprise on our continent.
Under AfCFTA trading, tariffs on various commodities where rules of origin have been agreed will be drastically reduced, and traders of all sizes will have access to a much better market than they used to before. You're watching the news on 90 International, and time for a break. More news when we return. Stay with us.
Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
I want to reiterate that the House will do all it can to make sure that everybody that has suffered from police violence, whether you're from the north, from the east, from the west, because everybody in Nigeria suffered from police violence, not just those of us from the southwest. That will be applicable to all, including policemen that lost their lives in this unfortunate incident.
Let's build and not destroy.
Experience unlimited super-fast internet access from Entel 4G. Entel. Live more.
Thanks a lot for staying tuned in to the news on 90 International. Now, the policy and programs of federal government in the agricultural sector have successfully pushed up food production, thereby averting food crisis during the year that was hit by coronavirus crisis. Our correspondent Musa Babali explains the performance of the sector in the last 365 days.
The 24 hours of every single day are important and crucial to farmers, livestock breeders, as well as researchers. And this is why the rainy and dry seasons remain of significance to farmers. The year 2020 was like any other year to farmers, characterized by planting, harvesting, storage, marketing, and processing. Agricultural activities were, however, disrupted with the outbreak of COVID-19, flood, and drought between March and September. This led to drop in the production of some major crops as observed by the Agricultural Research Institute of Ahmadu Bello University Zaria.
And the projection shows that actually, if interventions are not done now, we shall have many people falling into food insecurity and malnutrition.
And within the year, new policies and programs were introduced by the federal government. About 50,000 agricultural extension agents were trained to support rural farmers nationwide. roadmap for the establishment of $500 million crop processing zones were drafted at the beginning of the year. The federal government also approved a loan facility of $1.2 billion to finance mechanization of agriculture in the country. The loan will be used to acquire heavy-duty equipment and implements to be distributed to all local government areas in the country.
Meant for government to borrow, to on-lend to tractor assembly plants, to on-lend to businesses that will set up processing centers at senatorial level as well as at local government level.
Agriculture for Food and Job is another project launched by the federal government during the year. The project is designed to mitigate the negative impact of COVID-19 on the economy and livelihood of farmers by creating more access to food and for the rapid emergence of competitive food production, processing, and distribution in Nigeria.
Takes the issue of food security and health of the population seriously. These seeds are being given to the beneficiaries free of charge, while other inputs given at 75% subsidy.
The Central Bank of Nigeria provided about 432 billion naira to fund the value chains of 9 commodities in the 2020 wet season. 11 varieties of high-yielding seeds were released by the Nigerian scientists and certified by the National Varieties Release Committee in the year under review. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
On global economy, OPEC Secretary General Mohamed Sanusi Barkindo says the global economy is forecast to grow by 4.4% in 2021. Barkindo says of the Joint Technical Committee's JTC 47th meeting held via video conference. The Joint Technical Committee is the think tank of Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee and meeting ahead of the 25th meeting of a Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee and the 13th OPEC and non-OPEC ministerial meeting scheduled for Monday, 4 January 2021. Mohamed Sanusi Barkindo, Secretary General of OPEC, opened the meeting by thanking the committee members for their tireless efforts during one of the most volatile periods in the oil industry's history. He reflected on the proactive and decisive decisions taken by the DEC countries in April, June, September, and December 2020, highlighting the bold and timely actions of the participating countries throughout the COVID-19 crisis. The Secretary General underscored the need to continue to work together for the benefits of producers, consumers, and world economy at large. Now to security matters. The Directorate of Defense Media Operations says the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole has destroyed more Boko Haram terrorist hideouts and eliminated several of their fighters at 2 locations in Kote Kura and Bolama Isamari, both in Borno State. DMO Coordinator Major General John Enenche indicates the airstrikes were executed on 2nd January 2021, employing Nigerian Air Force fighter aircraft based on credible intelligence. Reports indicated that the terrorists had recently established camps at both settlements for their logistic items and to plan and launch attacks. The NAV attack aircraft engaged scores of terrorists observed in the target areas, leading to the neutralization of several of them, as well as the destruction of structures and logistics stores, some of which were seen engulfed in flames at both locations. Meanwhile, Nigerian Air Force says it will sustain the onslaught against bandits and other criminal elements in the northwest and other parts of the country as its personnel remain focused in dealing with contemporary security challenges. Air Officer Commanding Training Command, Kaduna Air Vice Marshal Musa Mukhtar surveys during the Chief of the Air Staff luncheon for troops in Kaduna. Ahmed Umar Kudan reports.
With a clear-cut mandate to make Kaduna-Abuja highway safer, These special forces are to search and combat criminal elements as they rescue victims of crimes. Utilizing air and ground components, exercise Taimako Yazo, meaning help has come, aims at detecting and eliminating bandits and kidnappers, including their camps along the highway. Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, says the exercise will be sustained and extended to Zamfara and Katsina states.
I'm sure it has impacted positively. It has also deterred criminals from coming out on this road to attack innocent citizens. And I said it's an exercise that is going to be a continuous one. We make sure that at short notice, without anybody even not knowing, we'll be doing these exercises in between the 6 major ones that we're planning.
This inauguration brings another sigh of relief to motorists and regional community that has been in the news for the notorious activities of kidnappers and bandits.
When you give the information, they will go to reveal it to these bandits. Later on, they will come and meet you and kill you at home. But maybe this time around, if we can see this kind of magic today, we know they are ready to work and fight these kind of bandits inside our bush.
The exercise is being conducted under the Nigerian Air Force Special Operations Command. In Kaduna, Ahmed Umar Kudang, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Chief of Naval Staff Vice Admiral Ibok Etekwe says a prisoner of a naval base Lake Chad, Baga, owes a duty to return Baga General Area to its pristine status for full restoration of socio-economic activities and civil authority. The Chief of Naval Staff, represented by Rear Admiral Ibikunle Taiwo, stated this in a message to a New Year celebration with the personnel of Naval Base Lake Chad, Baga in Maiduguri. Abubakar Mohammed Musa reports.
One of the key drivers towards the attainment of certain goals, especially in the theater, is to ensure that troops on the front line are given the necessary impetus. This is the main reason why the Nigerian Navy, under the leadership of the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ibok Etekwe Ibas, decided to host personnel to a New Year party. Major setbacks, especially the overrunning of the naval base Lake Chad Baga in 2018 by Boko Haram insurgents, was identified with emphasis on how best to re-strategize against any eventuality, as well as the restoration of livelihood activities to Baga general area.
When you boost the morale of people, you should expect a response from them. You expect more dedication, you expect them to fight more, you expect them to achieve more on the mandate given to them, you expect them to do more. And that is why we're here. I want to assure you that going to 2021, you will see more of the naval personnel in this theater.
I wish to begin by appreciating the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, for providing all the enablement to achieve our mandate.
It was indeed an opportunity for soldiers to wine and dine towards ushering in the year 2021 with high hope of bringing back lasting peace to Borno and the Northeast region in general. In Maiduguri, Abubakar Mohammed Musa, NTA News.
Well, what a moment there. Now let's take a look at Monday's weather in Nigeria and other major cities of the world. And that concludes the news this hour on NTA International. Remember to connect with us and against rape and rapists. Connect with the NTA. Have a productive 2021.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can watch NTA International live on your TV, computer, iPad, tablet and phone. Log on to visiontv.co.uk and click on Entertainment, then NTAI. You can also download the iOS or Android app on your mobile devices to watch NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International, your window to the world.
You can follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. Or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rate.